So let's derive the Euler's equation for the fixed free type of end condition. So generally, fixed free columns are represented like this. You have a fixed condition here, where you have a column like this. You have a column like this, which is axially loaded with P, and this P is going to make this column fail by buckling, and that particular buckling is shown over here. Now I hope you all remember the procedure that we have followed for the derivation of Euler's equation. First we have to derive get an equation for the moment at this particular point x. So if you look at this particular point x, and if you look at the load P, the distance between P and x is nothing but a minus y. So a is the deflection at the free end, and this deflection is y. So obviously this distance has to be a minus y. So the moment at x is equal to p into a minus y. The sign will be positive. The reason, because this is having a positive sign convention based on the assumption that we have made. So when we equate this, this was the first step. So the second step is to equate this to the ei into d square y by dx square equation. So if we equate this, ei into d square y by dx square is equal to p into a minus p into y. If we rearrange this expression, that means if we take the py to the left hand side, the expression is going to be ei into d square y by dx square is plus p into y equal to p into y. So this is the second step. So when we compare this particular derivation, that means fixed free derivation, with the hinged one, we can say that in the hinged condition, this particular term was equal to 0. Only ei into d square y by dx square plus py is equal to 0 was the expression for the hinged condition. But when we take the case of a fixed free condition, an additional term pa has come into the picture. Now we will derive this with the ei, which is going to left with the differential equation d square y by dx square plus p by ei into y is equal to p by ei into a. So for this particular differential equation, this is the general expression that we have arrived. Now for this kind of expression, the solution is y is equal to c1 cos mx plus c2 sin mx plus a. So see, when we compare with the previous derivation that we have done, an additional term a has added to the solution. So in the previous question, the differential equation was equal to 0. Now we have an additional term p by ei into a here. That means the differential equation has become of the form d square y by dx square plus m square y is equal to ma. For this kind of differential equation, the solution is this. So if we substitute the value of m here, we are going to get the solution for the column. So that is going to be c1 cos root of p by ei into x plus c2 into sin root of p by ei into x plus a. Now we have the expression. This is the expression we have. So we have completed the third step. Now what is the next step we have to? We have to find out the value of constants c1, c2 using the boundary condition. That's the most important. So boundary condition is the one that is going to convert this particular differential equation or the solution into the solution of our particular problem. So the value of c1 and c2 is purely depending upon the value of boundary condition. So what are the boundary conditions that we can apply here? So if we closely look here, this is the condition at x is equal to 0. So here at x is equal to 0, we can obviously say y is equal to 0. So what is the next end condition where we have a free end where the deflection has gone to a, it's not equal to 0. So we can say that here at x is equal to 0, sorry. So we can say that here at x is equal to L, y is not equal to 0. The value of y is going to be a. So these are the two boundary conditions that we can easily arrive at. Now we have one more set of boundary condition we have to use here, which is nothing but the boundary condition related to the deflection or the slope. Okay, slope means if you look here, if you look from 0 to a, we can see that the slope value is increasing. The rate of change of deflection is increasing from O to a. So from O it is 0 and it has reached the maximum value at a. Now that is the boundary condition we have to use here, the third boundary condition. So the third boundary condition is, so this is going to be the boundary condition 1, this is going to be the boundary condition 2, and finally we have one more, x is equal to 0, dy by dx is equal to 0. This is the third boundary condition. So dy by dx is nothing but this slope. The slope is specified by dy by dx. So the slope dy by dx equal to 0 at x equal to 0. So you have to be very careful while writing the boundary conditions, because these are the conditions which are going to define our problem. So it has that much importance when we go for the derivation. Now let us apply all these boundary conditions. So let us take the first boundary condition where we will apply, we will go with the third boundary condition 3, which is nothing but at x is equal to 0, dy by dx is equal to 0. So in order to get dy by dx, we have to differentiate our expression. So this is our expression. So if you differentiate this expression, what we are going to get is dy by dx is equal to c1, differential of cos is minus sine root of p by ei into x. Again this term will come out, so it is going to be root of p by ei into, right, this is a very basic differentiation, plus c2 into, it is going to come like p by ei into cos root of p by ei into x. So differential of a is going to be 0. So if we apply the boundary condition at x is equal to 0, dy by dx is equal to 0, what we are going to get is, gives the value of c2 equal to 0. This is what we are going to end up with. So we will get the value of c2 equal to 0, because dy by dx is equal to 0 here, sin 0 is equal to 0, cos 0 is equal to 1. Okay, so c2 into 1 equal to 0, that means c2 is equal to 0. Now what we will do is, we will apply the first boundary condition. So upon applying the boundary condition 1, what is that, at x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So if we apply that equation on our solution, y is equal to 0, c1 into cos root of p by ei into x. X is also equal to 0. So cos 0 plus c2 is 0. So the second term is absent and we have only with a. So cos 0 is 1. So cos 0 is 1. So this value is equal to 1. So we will get the value of c1 as minus a. So this is the second constant. So by the boundary condition 3, we got the value of c2 as 0. By the boundary condition 1, we got the value of c1 as minus a. And finally, if we apply the second boundary condition 2, that is nothing but at x is equal to L, y equal to a. If we apply this boundary condition, then the equation is going to be a equal to c1 is minus a cos root of p by ei into L. The value of x is going to be L and y is going to be a, plus a is there, right? So c2 has become 0, so that term is not there. c1 has taken the value of minus a, so the first term will be written like this, and the value of y is equal to a at x is equal to L. So this is what we are going to end up. And if we strike out the common factors, a will get cancelled out and we have to say that minus a cos of root of p by ei into L equal to 0. Same assumptions, also same methodology we have to follow here. Either a has to be 0 or cos has to be 0. A cannot be 0 because that's a constant value. A is a deflection value. It cannot be equal to 0. So a is not going to be 0. Obviously cos has to be equal to 0. So for whatever values, cos will take 0 value. So cos of some x is equal to 0 will be obtained when x is equal to what? X is equal to pi by 2. X is equal to 3 pi by 2. Like that. So if we use the first term pi by 2 here, we can say that root of p by ei into L equal to pi by 2. So upon rearranging, we can say that squaring and rearranging, we can say that p is equal to pi square ei by 4 L square. So this is the expression we are going to get for the fixed free column. So the methodology is same. So if we square this, we are going to get the space p by ei into L square is equal to pi square by 4. So upon rearranging, we can get the expression for the crippling load for a fixed free column is pi square ei by 4 square. So when we compare it with the previous one, we can say that an additional 4 has come into the denominator. So the equations, like since the procedure remains the same, methodology remains the same, the equation will have some resemblance. There will be a slight variation. There are only slight variations. So when you learn these derivations, try to compare with the previous one and to see what are the changes that we have to make when we move across different end conditions. So this is the expression for the fixed free column. So in the next session, we will discuss about the fixed column, how the derivation of the buckling load will be done for a fixed column. So thank you.